Have you ever wondered how New York became the architectural wonder it is today? Let's wind the clock back to the 17th century, when New York was but a fledgling colony. The Dutch were the first to leave their architectural imprint on the city. Picture quaint, gabled homes, their designs steeped in simplicity and practicality. These early Dutch colonial homes were characterized by their steeply pitched roofs, central chimneys, and modest, symmetrical exteriors. They were not just homes, but a reflection of the Dutch settlers' pragmatic approach to life in the New World. Yet the Dutch's architectural dominance was not to last. The British soon took over, and with them came a shift in the architectural landscape. The English influence was marked by a departure from the simplicity of Dutch design. English-style homes were more elaborate, featuring brick or stone exteriors, multiple fireplaces, and larger, more ornate windows. This blend of Dutch and English styles created a unique architectural language that began to define New York. The city was growing, and so too was its architectural ambition. The colonial period saw the rise of public buildings, churches, and mansions, each more grand and imposing than the last. These structures signaled New York's burgeoning status as a place of importance, a city on the rise. Yet, even as the city grew and evolved, the roots of its architectural heritage remained firmly in the ground. The colonial period, with its blend of Dutch pragmatism and English grandeur, laid the groundwork for the architectural marvels that were to come. It was a period of experimentation, innovation, and evolution. It was a time when New York began to carve out its unique architectural identity, an identity that would continue to evolve and shape the cityscape we know today. So, as you walk the streets of New York, take a moment to appreciate the city's architectural roots. Look beyond the towering skyscrapers and modern marvels, and you'll see echoes of the city's past. Because the colonial period wasn't just the start of New York's architectural story, it was the foundation upon which the city was built. The colonial period laid the foundation for the architectural evolution that was to follow. As the city grew, so did its architectural ambitions. With the burgeoning of New York City, a fascinating transformation unfolded in the architectural landscape. The city began to look beyond its borders, across the Atlantic to Europe, for stylistic inspiration. This was the era when neoclassicism rose to prominence. Neoclassicism, as the name suggests, was a revival of the classical architecture of ancient Greece and Rome. It was characterized by grandeur of scale, simplicity of geometric forms, Greek, or occasionally Roman, detail, dramatic use of columns, and a preference for blank walls. The style was synonymous with ideals of democracy, morality, and civic virtue, making it a fitting choice for the rapidly expanding city. One of the most striking features of the neoclassical period was the Greek Revival style. This was a reinterpretation of the architectural language of ancient Greece, with its stately columns, pediments, and friezes. The Greek Revival was not just about aesthetics, it was also a political statement. By adopting the architectural style of the birthplace of democracy, New York was aligning itself with these values. A prime example of this style is the iconic Federal Hall. Sitting majestically on Wall Street, Federal Hall is a testament to the Greek Revival style. Its grand portico, supported by imposing Doric columns, echoes the grandeur of a Greek temple. This architectural marvel, where George Washington took the oath of office as the first president of the United States, stands as a symbol of the city's democratic aspirations. The neoclassical period was a time of architectural experimentation and expansion. As the city's horizons broadened, so did its architectural vocabulary. The buildings of this era were more than just structures. They were statements of civic pride and cultural identity. They reflected not just the city's growth, but its evolving ethos and aspirations. The neoclassical period marked a shift towards grandeur, setting the stage for the architectural revolution that was to come. What would New York be without its majestic skyline? Imagine, if you will, a New York City without its towering skyscrapers, a landscape devoid of the soaring structures that have become synonymous with the city's identity. It's hard to picture, isn't it? Our journey takes us to the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. a pivotal time in architectural history. This was the era that saw the birth of skyscrapers, a revolution sparked by a blend of ambition, innovation, and necessity. As the city's population grew, so too did the need for space. The solution: build upwards. This upward expansion was made possible by a series of technological advancements. The invention of the safety elevator by Elisha Otis in the mid-19th century meant that buildings could now reach new heights, quite literally. At the same time, developments in steel and iron production provided the necessary materials to construct these towering edifices. Among the first to pierce the New York skyline was the iconic Flatiron Building. Completed in 1902, the Flatiron remains a testament to the daring spirit of the time. Its triangular shape, a necessary adaptation to the plot of land it was built on, gave it a distinctive silhouette that continues to captivate onlookers to this day. Yet, the Flatiron was just the beginning. Soon, more skyscrapers began to rise, each one taller and more grandiose than the last. The Woolworth Building, the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building. These are the names that have come to define New York's architectural landscape. But it wasn't just about height. The design of these skyscrapers mirrored the city's spirit of progress and innovation. They were symbols of the city's economic power, of its unstoppable growth, and of its relentless pursuit of the future. The skyscraper era established New York as a symbol of architectural innovation. It was during this time that New York City truly rose to prominence, its skyline becoming a beacon for architects and dreamers alike. The skyscrapers of New York weren't just buildings. They were a statement, a declaration of the city's ambition and its place on the world stage. In the mid-20th century, New York architecture took a bold, new direction. As the city's skyline continued to evolve, the architectural world was swept up in a wave of modernism. This was a movement that sought to break free from historical styles, focusing instead on functionality, simplicity, and the innovative use of new materials and technologies. Two distinct styles emerged within the modernist movement, each leaving an indelible mark on the city's landscape. The International style, with its sleek, unornamented surfaces, and the Brutalist style, characterized by its raw, unpretentious use of concrete, both challenged the conventional norms of architecture. The International style was brought to the fore by architects like Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, whose design philosophy was encapsulated in the phrase, "less is more." His Seagram building, a bronze-clad tower of glass and steel, stands as a testament to this minimalist aesthetic. With its unadorned facade and open interior space, the Seagram building embodies the International style's emphasis on form following function. On the other end of the modernist spectrum, we find Brutalism. This style, often associated with the use of raw, exposed concrete, sought to express the functional aspects of buildings in their exterior design. The Whitney Museum of American Art, designed by Marcel Breuer, is a classic example. With its inverted ziggurat shape and heavy use of concrete, the Whitney Museum is an unapologetically brutalist structure, boldly challenging the sleek glass and steel edifices of the International style. By embracing these new styles, New York architects were not just constructing buildings, they were making powerful statements about the role of architecture in society. They were rejecting the ornate, historical styles of the past, and embracing a more straightforward, honest approach to design. The modernist movement marked a departure from tradition, pushing the boundaries of what architecture could be. This era was an exciting time of experimentation and innovation, a time when New York City's skyline was forever changed by the daring visions of modernist architects. As we move towards the end of the 20th century, New York architecture became even more eclectic. This eclectic nature is a testament to the city's embrace of postmodernism and deconstructivism, two movements that shaped the skyline we see today. Postmodernism in architecture marked a departure from the rigid rules of modernism. It called for a return to ornamentation, color, and variety, and it was a celebration of individuality and uniqueness. Architects began to experiment with form, incorporating aspects of past architectural styles and melding them with contemporary elements. One of the most iconic examples of postmodernism in New York is the AT&T building, designed by Philip Johnson. With its Chippendale-inspired top, it was a bold statement against the austere glass and steel skyscrapers of the modernist era. On the other hand, deconstructivism, as the name suggests, is all about breaking down the elements of architecture and creating structures that seem fragmented and chaotic. It's about challenging our perceptions of what a building should look like. Take, for instance, the Guggenheim Museum, designed by Frank Gehry. Its swirling metallic exterior seems to defy gravity, and it's a perfect example of deconstructivist architecture. It's a building that challenges our understanding of what a museum should be, and it's become an iconic part of New York's architectural landscape. Another example of deconstructivism is the High Line. Once a disused railway line, it's now a public park that winds its way through the city's buildings. It's a wonderful example of how architects can repurpose existing structures and create something new and unexpected. These movements have given us an incredibly diverse range of buildings, each with its own unique identity. They've helped make New York's skyline one of the most recognizable in the world, a testament to the city's constant evolution and growth. Today, New York's architecture continues to evolve, reflecting the city's dynamic spirit. From the dawn of its architectural history to the present day, New York has always been a city that isn't afraid to break the mold, to push boundaries, and to constantly reinvent itself. What does the future hold for New York architecture? That is a question that provokes much thought and stirs up a whirlwind of possibilities. As we cast our gaze forward, we see a horizon filled with emerging trends that promise to redefine the architectural landscape of this iconic city. One such trend that's gaining momentum is sustainable and green architecture. As the world grapples with the effects of climate change, architects in New York are responding with designs that are as environmentally friendly as they are aesthetically pleasing. Picture skyscrapers with vertical gardens breathing life into the concrete jungle, buildings adorned with solar panels harvesting the sun's energy, and structures designed for optimal natural light and ventilation to reduce energy consumption. But it's not just about reducing carbon footprints. The future of New York architecture is also about creating spaces that enhance the quality of life for its residents. This is where the concept of smart buildings comes in. Imagine living in a building that anticipates your needs, adjusts the temperature to your liking, and even reminds you when it's time to water your plants. These aren't just futuristic fantasies. They're the realities that New York's architects are working towards. And let's not forget the importance of resilience in design. With the city's vulnerability to climate-related events, architects are focusing on creating structures that can withstand the elements, buildings that can take a punch from Mother Nature, dust themselves off, and stand tall once more. The future of New York architecture is not about discarding the past, but rather, it's about taking the lessons learned from centuries of design and applying them in innovative and exciting ways. It's about creating a city that is not only visually stunning, but also sustainable, resilient, and conducive to the well-being of its inhabitants. As we look towards the future, one thing is clear. New York will continue to be at the forefront of architectural innovation. From its humble beginnings to its towering skyscrapers, New York's architecture tells a fascinating story. We started our journey with the dawn of New York's architecture, when quaint Dutch-style houses and simple brick buildings graced the streets. The city's architectural scene was still in its infancy, but even then, it was a place of promise and potential. Then came the rise of neoclassicism. This period saw a shift away from the simplicity of the early days towards grandeur and elegance. Buildings started to mimic the ancient Greek and Roman structures, a nod to a bygone era of architectural brilliance. New York began to grow, not just in population, but in its architectural ambition. But it was the birth of skyscrapers that truly put New York on the architectural map. The city's skyline began to rise, with steel-framed behemoths reaching for the clouds. The skyscraper became a symbol of New York's progress, a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. It was during this period that iconic structures like the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building were erected, forever changing the city's skyline. Next, we moved into the era of the modernist movement. This was a time of experimentation and innovation. Architects began to break away from traditional forms and explore new ideas about space, structure, and function. The city became a playground for architectural creativity, with buildings like the Seagram Building and the Guggenheim Museum redefining what architecture could be. Postmodernism and beyond brought us into the present day. This period has seen a return to ornamentation and a blending of styles, but with a modern twist. Buildings like the AT&T Building and the Times Square Tower incorporate elements from past styles, but with a fresh interpretation that reflects the diversity and dynamism of the city. Finally, we look to the future of New York's architecture. The city's skyline continues to evolve, with new buildings pushing the boundaries of design and technology. The future promises to be as exciting as the past, with sustainable design and innovative materials set to play a pivotal role. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of New York's architectural history, from its humble beginnings to the dizzying heights of its skyscrapers. Each period, each building, tells a part of New York's story. A story of growth, ambition, and relentless creativity. Whether you're an architecture enthusiast or simply a lover of New York, there's no denying the city's architectural prowess. Thank you for joining us on this journey through New York's architectural history.